Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital and welcome to this middle of the day market update. And this time around, we actually have a lot to talk about. All right, so this is going to be it's going to be an exciting video. I'll try to keep it short and concise, but there's quite a lot of things we need to talk about regarding the markets at this point of time. Not only is Bitcoin at a crucial level right here, I think Ethereum and XRP, first of all, I'm quite happy to say that if you watch my videos, you would have been perfectly positioned and perfectly ready for the move that we had over the course of today. So I'm happy with that. But those are just moving according to expectations, right? Bitcoin is doing a little bit more than that. And that's because of the news that we had today. So we'll go over that. There's a lot of other news as well, which we need to cover at least briefly in this video. So we'll start off with those fundamentals. Then we'll talk about Bitcoin. And then we will talk about Ethereum and XRP briefly. Because like I said, I mean, what I said yesterday is essentially going on right now, right? So if you still remember what I said about XRP and Ethereum yesterday, you're golden. If you watch my videos on Ethereum and XRP yesterday, even better, right? But for now, let's and then at the end we'll talk about some altcoins. There's a couple of altcoins that I've written down here to my left. That's why I was looking there. I wasn't distracted all of a sudden, which I also wanted to talk about with Chainlink. Specifically also had some major news that I think, maybe it's not fully priced in yet. But okay, let's get right into it. First of all, the major news that we had was this: Trump to sign executive order to allow crypto and other private assets into 401ks. This is great news. All right, this basically allows much more money and also very, tax favorable money and capital to flow into these assets. The other private assets, by the way, are, I think, private equity, but also real estate. But crypto is very much highlighted in a lot of these in a lot of these news items, and news like this is great. But what I think is even greater, and that's also what's going to be tested over the course of the next 2 hours or so, because the New York Open has just happened. The US session has just opened. What you can see over the last couple of days is that when we got some good volume over the course of the European session today after the news, so that's good. But you can see most of the volume during the US session actually comes in about an hour afterwards. So we're going to see if that's going to be good enough, because now it's crucial. The reaction to the news was pretty good, right? So if we get good news, you need to see a strong reaction as well. If not, that's bearish. I've said that yesterday, but that's common knowledge, I think. But the initial reaction is good. Now we need to see follow through, all right? Because even though the volume during this move up after the news was relatively high for the European session, the volume that we've seen with this move over the course of today, so since the news came, has been relatively low. We need to see more volume so we actually have more conviction. We are at a major resistance level right now. We have the 30-day rolling VWAP, we have the fair value gap, and we have this area right here, which is a mix between the value area low of this balance and the value area high of this balance, right? So we need to, and it's absolutely crucial for Bitcoin that we hold this level right here at 115.7. Now, it's possible that we spike down lower, all right? Spiking down lower is fine. There's a major imbalance there. I don't care if we feel some more of that imbalance, but we need to keep close and above 115.7. If we're able to do that, we can get a move into 118, but then the structure also becomes much more bullish, all right? So that is by far the most important thing I'm going to say in this video. 115.7, hold that with volume over the course of the next hours, and we're good. Now, the fundamentals outside of the news that we had are actually pretty good as well. I mean, we know, for example, that Trump and Putin are meeting next week. So what that's doing is that the volatility index is back at the lows, right? So this basically suggests that there's relatively low unrest, although gold is trying to break out, which is a little bit strange, but okay. We'll leave that be. Gold is also an asset, right? So gold rallying doesn't necessarily mean that unrest is increasing. But the volatility index is low, so that's good. We see equities, so this is, I need to take a look at this. Equities opened higher, have a gap to the downside, so it's quite normal that we're going to fill that gap, but ultimately we've seen good recovery over the course of the last week, so that's great. And then specifically when we're talking about crypto right here, if I can let this load, that would be great. When we're specifically talking about crypto, Coinbase Bitcoin Premium also going into a higher premium over the course of today. which is great to see. So the fundamentals right now, and by the way, earnings data for companies, for stocks, yesterday evening and yesterday was good as well. All right, so that is one of the reasons why we are seeing a pretty good recovery for equities, for stocks, which in turn is bullish for crypto. So all of the fundamentals at this point of time are looking quite good. But still, we need to see a follow through from Bitcoin. We need to see maybe a bit of a spike down. We need to see high volume. We need to see 115.7 hold. If we're able to do that and see that, which at this point of time, you know, to spoil a little secret, I do think is most likely. I think something like this is most likely. But we need to see that. We need to see proof. We need to see it actually happen. We need to see confirmation, and then we'll know more. And look, for XRP and Ethereum, and Bitcoin, by the way, is very important for altcoins as well, because altcoins at this point of time are still very correlated. But when we're talking about Ethereum and XRP, like, this is the analysis I did this morning. This, in my opinion, is still valid, although the possibility of a real breakout is now higher. But that is something I'll keep you updated on in my Ethereum videos. And XRP, this is what I drew this morning. That's still completely valid as well, right? So both for Ethereum and XRP, Ethereum a little bit more. Ethereum is showing more momentum. I expect a bullish continuation, but I still think it's a little bit more likely, for today at least, that we are not going to see a major breakout. For XRP, it's quite logical. We won't. For Ethereum, look, a move into 3,900, 4,000, I think it's a possibility. Breaking above that, I think it's a little bit harder. And then when we're talking about altcoins, oh yeah, last thing, all right, last thing, and then I'll leave you be, all right, then you'll know enough for now. When we're talking about altcoins, there's a couple of things that I wanted to speak about, a couple of coins that I wanted to highlight. First of all, Aptos. I think Aptos has been underperforming a lot, and it hasn't yet, but it's about to reclaim the value area low right here. If it's able to get a reclaim with a little bit of strength there, I think this is actually a pretty low risk and unrecognized opportunity, which are always the opportunities I like most. Useless, which is a meme coin, is showing signs of bottoming. We had some super high volume right here, and we also reclaimed a crucial key level right here. This is very high risk, all right, but it looks interesting to say the least. So I think it's definitely something to keep your eyes on. Mental is also still a coin that has a lot of momentum right here. Now, personally, I'm being a little bit conservative with this. We have some imbalances to the downside. I would prefer an entry there, but you cannot deny that this has a lot of momentum, so it should be on your watch list. And then last of all, we saw news that Chainlink was going to use revenue to start some sort of a link reserve. I think that's very interesting long term. So far, the reaction hasn't been that great. So keep your eyes on that, but for now, I think it's better to monitor this, but not buy. Those are my thoughts. I think that's what you need to know for today. So hopefully that helps. But for now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.